What's up everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Komodina. I am the CEO of 3 companies, Impakt Industries, NK Athletics Incorporated, which was a fitness coaching company that we had. And then I run the Impakt Legacy Mastermind, which is a group coaching container that is a monthly membership where we take entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs and we help them get crystal clear on their vision, who they want to help, their purpose, why they were put here on this earth. We help develop them as leaders and we give them all the tools to do everything and create the life that they actually want to create for themselves. What I'm going to talk to you guys about today is something that I see a lot of people struggle with now, which is getting quality leads or even getting inbound leads in the first place. And when most of the people join the mastermind, they are in there because they are saying, I know what I want to do, or I think I know what I want to do. But for some reason, I cannot get people to apply or sign up, or they're rejecting on the phone. And whenever I vet these people and I look at their content, I see the same similarities with every single person that struggles with lead generation, which is either, there's a couple things. It's either their message is extremely vague, or they are not aligned with their messaging, which means they are putting themselves in a box. And this is where I see a lot of people do, is they say, okay, I saw all of these other people doing this thing that worked for them. So if I do that same thing, therefore it must work for me. This is where we see a lot of business coaches teach. It's the one-stop system, plug and play. This is what we've done, and if you do it too, it's gonna be successful. And where I see a lot of people struggle even more is these coaches teach, well, if what you are doing isn't working, then you just need to do more of it. So if you are doing this 100 times and you're not seeing results, then you need to do it 200 times and see results. And now these people are spending all of their time generating no money, giving them more frustration, and all of this anxious energy is piling up because they have nowhere for it to actually land. And when we get crystal clear on our purpose, who we're here to help, and we actually stop running for once in our lives. Now hear me out on this. More oftentimes than not, this isn't for everybody, but what I have seen in a lot of people, especially myself, was that when I was fitness coaching, when I had NK Athletics Incorporated, when I was fitness coaching, I was really fucking good at my job. I was really good at my job. And because I was good at my job, I didn't have a hard time getting leads. And because I was always talking about how good my results were and my clients were posting about me, I didn't have problems getting leads. And so what did that end up giving me? A lot of money. So we had a massive team. We had about 25 employees at one point. We were doing multiple $1 million a year just from fitness coaching online. And we had an amazing thing going. But for some reason in me, something felt so off. I did not feel aligned. I did not feel fulfilled. But I convinced myself that this just must be what I'm doing because I'm making a lot of money and I'm good at it. So maybe these emotions of feeling empty are misplaced. Maybe I should just buy a supercar. And so I went and bought a ACURA NSX. It was matte black wrap. It was a beautiful car. It was an amazing supercar. And I was like, that's gonna give me the fulfillment. Like that's gonna make me feel better. And you know what I did? I drove that car for 2 months and I went right back into the same fucking hole of what can I buy next to give me a dopamine hit and make me feel good about myself. And at the time I was in a really toxic relationship. She was cheating on me, I was cheating on her, and just miserable, was lost. And so what I did was I buried myself and I ran from my situation in my job, in my work, in my business. And so I scaled this company, a couple other streams of income, but I scaled to do it. You know, we were doing 200K a month plus, and I was miserable. On paper, I had everything. I had the house, the girl, the car, the dogs, the money, the clients, the business, everything. I was booming, but I was miserable. And I stayed there because that was my escape. That was my way of running from the shit that I didn't actually want to deal with inside of me. I didn't want to look at my life and realize the shitty parts about it. I wanted to just keep getting the praise for the monetary gain and the social status that came from me being the most successful person in the friend group or having the most money. And it ruined me. And it wasn't until everything fell apart, right? Like everything came out about our cheatings, everything came out about everything in the relationship. We broke up, lost all my friends, lost everything. And I really did feel like I lost everything because my identity was tied into the escapism that I was using in that business. And so once I realized that all of that was gone, I didn't know who I was outside of that. And there was so much energy, emotions, anxiety, things inside of me that I had not dealt with, that when it all came to the surface, it was almost too overwhelming for me to bear. And so at 3:30 in the morning, I went into my backyard in Houston, and I put a gun barrel to my head. And I sat there and just fuck. My heart was pounding, it was freezing out. So I remember how cold it was. And I walked out there and I thought, oh, I should go back inside and grab a jacket real quick. But then I stopped myself and said, what's the point? Right, I'm gonna die anyways. And so for some reason, I was about to pull this trigger and I heard a voice in my head saying no. And it startled me. It sounded like somebody was right next to me and it was no. And it shook me because I felt like somebody was right there. And so I just kind of snapped out of it, thank God, and went back to bed, woke up. Basically, it was just a shit show the whole next couple of months. You know, we had social media presences, so she said this, he said that. It was just a mess, and I lost everything. And what I had done to run from the things that I wanted to run from, I could no longer do. And so I actually had no choice but to just stop and face myself. And so I became a recluse for about 3 months, and I went super introspective. And I had to do a lot of work, and I had to pause. And something that we teach in the Mastermind is that there has to be a phase in your evolution of pause. And I realized that for my entire life, I've been an entrepreneur for about 10 years, and I realized that for my entire life, since I started entrepreneurship, I have just constantly been running. And I convinced myself always that I was running towards success, but actually I was running away from the things of my past that I didn't want to deal with. And so I would act in certain ways, and I would hide that because I was ashamed of it. And I would convince myself, well, if maybe in about 2 years, 3 years, this won't matter as much, I won't think about it, then I can bring it up, it won't be that big of a deal. You know, it was 3 years ago, I was different. And that was how I lived my life, was shit, can I keep these things under the rug for 2 to 3 years? That way they're not as bad anymore. And it just ruined me. But once I finally stopped running, when I finally looked at my own shit and I realized I am the cause of everything happening in my life, all the people that I had manifested in that hurt me, all of these things, it's just my entire scope of how I looked at the world changed. And instead of keeping that to myself, I decided to start sharing it. And that's also a big catalyst for why I want to start doing long-form content for you guys here on this channel. Because I realized, and I had a lot of psychedelic experiences, a lot of meditation experiences, a lot of very tapped in experiences that continued to reinforce with me that I need to just be sharing these things for whatever reason. So for whoever this video was for, I hope it finds you well. If this doesn't resonate with you, then just leave it for whoever it's for, because it's just not for you. But so to fast forward this story, I started realizing that my messaging started changing. And so instead of being this fitness entrepreneur who was a bodybuilder, competitive coach, and there's a whole other fortitude of how I was doing steroids for 4 years because I hated myself and came off and all of these things. But the premise was I no longer felt as aligned with trying to grow the biggest fitness coaching company that I could. Instead, my message and as I evolved as a man, I started seeing things differently, and I started seeing holes that needed to be filled that I felt were my responsibility to fill. And so I started working one-on-one with entrepreneurs who were exactly where I was. And my messaging became my story, right? My mess became my message. We've heard that before. But I started thinking about this, and here's the thing. I just want to disclose for any of you who's an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, the second that you start changing your message and you actually start trying to help people in a very serious way, you are going to get more haters than you've ever gotten in your entire life. You're dangerous, how dare you can't talk about this, you're not certified. Fuck you. Here's the truth, okay? I know exactly what the conversations are. I knew what they were. I know the conversations that these people had to themselves, that they were either making a lot of money or weren't making a lot of money, but felt like something was missing from their life. Felt like they were in a leadership position, and so they weren't allowed to feel emotions. They weren't allowed to be weak. They weren't allowed to be upset because they had the life. And constantly having those thoughts in your head of, man, if I just pulled that trigger, it'd be so peaceful for just a second. Right, like just literally thinking like if I killed myself, I would have 5 seconds of just peace. It was insane. But I know exactly what those conversations are in an entrepreneur's head. I know what it feels like to not have your purpose. I know what it feels like to feel unfulfilled. I know what it feels like to spin your wheels and keep putting hours and hours and hours and hours into something and not getting a monetary return and going, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And so the second that I just started speaking that exact message, the people who I needed to help found me instantaneously. And I think, or I know, the problem that I see with most people when they are struggling to get leads in our mastermind is they are being extremely vague with their messaging. They don't know who they're obsessed with helping, and they are not getting super personal with their messaging. Everybody, social media is hard now. If you don't have a trending sound, or you're doing the stupid fucking TikTok dance, or you don't have a size double D tits with no bra on so we can nice and see your nipples, like, you're not going viral anymore, right? So people are batting their heads against the wall, trying to think about videos, reels, TikToks, etc., that they can post that will go viral. Because we think that if something goes viral, then I will have financial success. And that is just not true. I have people in the mastermind who have 2 million, 3 million, 5 million followers and make nothing, because people only follow them for a surface level content game. So these people, if you're posting the motivational reels that have nothing to do with you, and I go to your page and it's just swipe workouts, or it's just infographics, or it's just, well, all these things, and there's no you and there's no depth, and you're not actually sharing your story, and you're not telling people what you've been through, the mistakes that you've done, what you've had to overcome, then the real people that you're supposed to help cannot find you, because they are just gonna brush over you like surface level. The truth of the matter is this with social media now. Everybody is fighting for attention. Attention is the US dollar. It's the new dollar. And so while everybody runs the rat race for the United States dollar, what happened during that time? This new thing, and this is the way that we differentiate the old way of doing things versus the new way of doing things when we teach our students this. And so the old way of doing things, I want you guys to think about it like this, is chasing the US dollar, or chasing people's attention. Everybody's doing it now, and so therefore attention is really hard to get. When everybody was focusing the rat race on the dollar, this new way of doing things started to produce, and that was cryptocurrency. So let's think about crypto. It's still very early, but these super early adopters of crypto, when everybody's attention was on the dollar, or getting attention on social media, going viral on social media, surface level stuff, when everybody's focus was here, the early adopters who were able to look at this new way of doing things and say, this makes sense. This makes sense that more people are gonna eventually come to this, and it might not pay off right now because it's not gonna look as shiny and fun as this thing, but I know if I put in the work now and I give it 2 to 3 years, I'm going to be decades ahead of these people. And so the attention-focused content is the US dollar, and the new crypto is heartfelt, connection-based content. Radically honest, super vulnerable content. And that can be really hard for people to share, because being vulnerable puts yourself out there for every single person to criticize you. I'm not here to tell anybody that they're not going to get criticized, but what I am here to say is that if I have a message to share and you have a message to share, here's the thing. If you didn't have a message that you gave a shit and felt that was worth preaching, you would not be this far into this video right now. So I am talking directly to you. You need to take a second and look at what you are obsessed with fixing. What do you hate? For me, once I realized everything that I had been through in my life, I realized that what I hate the most are people who cannot see their true potential that I see. Leaders who do not trust themselves to step into that leader and take control of their lives and build that business, build the wealth, make generational wealth so their families are taken care of forever. Really develop as a leader. When I see somebody who has that potential in them, I become obsessed with ripping that out. I hate wasted potential. And so, but that was something that I had to figure out about myself through my own vulnerabilities, because I had come up so short of my full potential pretty much my whole life, because I was always running from myself. So I had no idea who I was, what I was about. And honestly, the thought of really learning who I was scared me. It still scares me. I still have a ways to go. But if you're listening to this, I'm telling you that you have a message that is worth getting out there. But if you are constantly keeping your message surface level, if you are diluting your truth because you don't want to offend somebody, or you are trying to make the most amount of people like your content, then you're never going to get the message out, because the people who are supposed to find you cannot find you. And I don't think that there is shame in making a lot of money, but I do think there is shame in playing small when you have a message that people need help with. And if you are focused on your fear of being judged by people, then you are doing your God-given talents, your message, and the people you're supposed to help a massive fucking disservice. There is a reason you're not getting leads, because those are the people you are not supposed to lead. When you can be heart-focused, when you can lead from your stories, the person who you are destined to help, I promise you that those clients are going to find you effortlessly. That doesn't mean we don't put work in, that doesn't mean we don't do outreach, that doesn't mean you can't run ads. but it means you're always gonna keep fighting, scratching, and clawing to feel aligned with your business and your life because you're not aligned with yourself. And so the key takeaways here are, if you wanna generate quality leads who are going to stay with you, who you can actually help and get fucking fired up to serve, one, you need to make sure that you have a container that can actually serve their needs. Two, you need to stop being vague with your messaging. Get painfully fucking specific. Three, share your story. Everything, all the details. Get painfully specific. You see, because our subconscious doesn't work with vague. We like to keep things vague because it allows us to commit to not taking action. So if I say, yeah, I'll get clients eventually, but this is a process. Well, what I'm telling myself is that I am in the process of doing it, and therefore there is no end goal. So I will move energy around, but there's no place for that energy to actually land. And so I will just keep procrastinating, because if I get the task done, I am no longer in the process of, which is what I've told myself I'm in. So I'll just keep pushing that thing back further and further so I can keep being in the process. When you guys get super, super specific about what you want, there is emotion that comes up with it. We love to make things grandiose so we don't have to focus on them, right? A great example of this is, why I don't trust anybody. Well, why not? Well, because people are always gonna hurt you and take advantage of you. What doesn't make sense? Who hurt you and took advantage of you specifically? Oof, now I've got a dagger in my heart because I actually have to be specific about the person who caused me this pain. So specifics will invoke emotion, and emotion is what we need to take action. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to get crystal clear on, what are you obsessed with? What do you hate? What do you want to fix? And what have you been through? Be specific. If people are gonna get upset at you sharing the same story over and over and over again, good. My message isn't for you. You don't want to talk about how I've been through this because I was depressed. You want to talk about this because I've been through a depression that made me put a gun to my head, that made me do this, and I thought this. And instead of going out with friends, I told myself this, so I stayed here and I gained 15 pounds. You want to be extremely specific about what that container of your struggle looked like, because there are people going through the exact same thing. Dude, I'm filming a video. My God, manners, 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 manners. There are people going through exactly what you have been through, and they think they are alone. And when we think we're alone, that's when shit starts to get bad. That's when we get in our own head, that's when we feel like there's no way out, and that's when we almost pull the trigger. Now there's a siren going on. So I'm gonna close this video because I obviously did not prepare a quiet studio to film this, Archie. All right, guys, if this video helped, if you found this video helpful, or maybe you need a little bit more clarity on this, drop a comment down below. I'm more than happy to make a part 2 if you want to ask some questions in the comment section below. And if you guys really like this video, I would super appreciate it if you liked it, gave it a thumbs up. That's the same thing. I'm new. Give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, turn the little bell thing on so you get notified. And if you guys can share this video, that would be freaking bananas for me. Bye.